The green room isn't green at all.
It is. It's blue. The blue room. I just don't want people to think it's a sad room. All right, Philip's back there. Well, welcome. Welcome, Angela. Yes, that is you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here on your show.
Thank you. All right, so our first question this evening for you is that you've been involved in education for many years.
Yes.
And then you got involved in this race in late August, early September of last year. Tell us a little bit, like why leave teaching? Like, how did you come to make this decision to run for elected office?
Wow. Well, it was a fairly quick turnaround. My background is in education. I was a teacher for 22 years, and it's I think a unique background, one that I'm excited about bringing to the Texas Senate, and unique in that I have background in public, private, and homeschool. And I think we actually only have one senator who has a background in education at all, and so no one that has something in all three of those. So I think it's an important background, given that we spend 52% of our general revenue on education. So it's kind of interesting. But I chose education because I want to make a difference. Majored in mathematical science, it's math computer science, business degree at Baylor University. And really it's a degree designed to go into be like a systems engineer at IBM, which was kind of where I was headed. But when Ken and I got married, and we kind of reassessed where are we going, what do we want to do, and I had always thought about teaching, and decided to do that. So when we got married, I got my master's in education in Houston at University of Houston Clear Lake, and did my student teaching there, and then hit the ground running as a teacher in public school.
So Ken's a very well-known conservative. And
He's my favorite.
and he's one of ours as well. What have you done for the conservative movement, on the public record of these years? I imagine you've done a bunch. I'm just wondering what do you feel that you've brought to the conservative movement before running for office?
I give you Ken Paxton. That is definitely my biggest contribution to the conservative movement. I tell people all the time, I met him at Baylor. He was student body president. And I saw a lot of potential in the guy, and I got right to work. So I think I've done a good job. But when I met Ken at Baylor, and I really am going to get to your question, I promise. He had a sign on his wall, a little plaque, and it said, "There's no limit to what a man can do if he doesn't get the credit." And that was the guy for me. We're both very driven by our faith. We're both very driven to make a difference in the world. And so, I always knew, in fact, one of our first dates, Ken told me that was one of his dreams, was to be involved in politics. And I hadn't really ever thought about doing something like that myself, but I did see the value. We need strong Christian leaders in politics to help our country and help our state. And so I always helped Ken. For the 2+ decades that we've lived here in Collin County, we moved here to help start a church, raise our family, but we immediately got involved in politics. And I got involved in Golden Corridor Republican Women. I think there are a few in here. Golden Corridor is in the trenches. And so, I'm not particularly driven by titles and that sort of thing, although I've held office with Golden Corridor. What I really care about is just being part of influencing other people. So I would say the biggest mark are people like Jeff Leach, Scott Sanford, Scott Turner. Those are all three people that Ken and I twisted their arms and talked them into running for office. I think that's made a pretty big difference in our county. So proud of their work.
Well, I might add, for a personal note, that I know that I'm thankful that you've been helping defend Ken as well over the last few years. So you mentioned your faith before, and I know something that's really important to you is the pro-life movement. Please tell us a little bit about what we can do to rid Texas of Planned Parenthood.
Wow. Well, one story at a time. You know, one of the things that's really exciting about life, well, you know, you'll hear people say this from time to time, eventually we will win because we're the only side having babies, right? So if we keep doing our part, eventually we win. And we feel like we've done our part. We had 4. So, but you know, my personal story, I'm adopted. So my life began as an unplanned pregnancy. I had very deliberate parents who I think just were very aware that they might not have ever been parents. And so they really were deliberate in the way they raised us. We didn't have a lot financially. I was raised in a very modest financial setting, but we were very, very rich in the things that really matter, in love and in faith in God and in encouragement. So, you know, I grew up knowing I was adopted and knowing that I had a purpose in life and that it was a purpose to make a difference for the kingdom of God. And so one of the things I'm so excited about as a potential platform in the Texas Senate is to use my story to help people understand that life is a beautiful choice. That when you're pro-life, you're pro-love. You know, I believe that it is the single biggest issue of our day, of our generation, life. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If we don't have life, if we don't guarantee and protect life, there's no liberty, there's no pursuit of happiness. And I believe that it is an issue that deserves the strongest possible voice. And I know lots of men, including my husband, who are strongly pro-life. And I don't know, in fact, I don't know anyone who has done more in the pro-life movement than my husband. You know, he's the one on the front lines, you know, defending our bill to outlaw dismemberment abortions. I mean, the fetal remains bill as well. They're horrid things. And he is fighting hard to make sure that we do the right thing and win the war battle by battle by battle. But I also know that you know, when a guy stands up and preaches the pro-life message, there are a lot of people who won't listen because it's a man. That's why we always have women carrying pro-life legislation, always. And I want to be that voice. I have a story, and I believe that that's part of what God has equipped me with to make a difference.
So, your esteemed opponent has a business background and has built a very successful business. How would you take your education background and help businesses in Collin County?
Well, you know, one thing I would say is you don't have to necessarily run a business to be pro-business. To be pro-business in our community, which is really important, I mean, look at it. There is no part of Texas like Collin County. We all know it. We live here, and we want to live here. It's part of the conservative message. We're not conservative just because, well, you know, this is, you know, you got to do this, you got to do this, like it's a lot of rules. I know why I'm conservative. It works. It appeals to what's best in people. Personal responsibility, you know, all of those things appeal to what's best, and they work. That is what makes people successful. So one of the things I'm really excited about in this area where we live in Collin County is being part of a collaboration between business, education, K through 12, and then higher ed. We've got some great synergies that we can really boost up to help, you know, build our workforce and raise up an educated citizenry. So, you know, to me, in the Texas Senate, to be an educator is a unique voice. But how about a fiscally conservative educator? That's another very important thing for us to have.
So have you ever given campaign dollars to a Democrat?
No.
No, okay. Have you voted for a Democrat?
No.
Okay. The other campaign was raising awareness this week about money that came from Mr. Corona to your campaign. He's a Republican.
Yes.
Was elected official. Do you see anything wrong with that donation, or is there anything that we need to be alarmed about? Or
Well, I believe my opponent actually donated to Mr. Corona.
okay.
So, what I care about is how I spend my money. That's what I control. I control how I spend my money. I'll tell you a funny story. I remember, I was raised Southern Baptist. Any Southern Baptists in the room? Okay. Don't drink, don't play cards, don't dance, all that kind of stuff. They do that now, I think. That apparently is not a big problem. Yeah, you can still dance, I know. But, I grew up in a very, very conservative home, and my mom and dad did not drink. And I remember my husband, in his very first campaign, got a donation from the beer wholesalers. Okay? And I said, "You are not going to take that money, are you?" And he said, "I'll spend it better than anybody else will." and you think about that, and I thought, well, that's right, because he's like, okay, you want to let him give it to just the I don't know. But he said, I'll spend it better than anyone else, so I'm going to spend it on good things. And that's what I care about. I'm going to spend my money on good things to win this campaign, to represent this district that I love, and to make a difference.
One of our principles is rule of law. What does that mean to you?
I think about that a lot. The rule of law dates back to Roman times. And now, I need a Latin scholar. Is there a Latin scholar? There's Lex Rex and Rex Lex. Okay? Rex is the king. Lex is the law. And so, because I'm not a Latin scholar, I know that one of these means one of these things, and the other one means the other thing. Okay? But one of them is the king is law, and the other is the law is king. And this is what we have to choose between. If the king is law, then whatever the king says goes. I think this is what we were really concerned about happening in the Obama administration. He was legislating by executive order. That is, the king is law. If I say it, it is now the law. And the United States, when we began, this was one of the things we fought against. We're like, no, King George, the king is not law. Just whatever you say, your whim. The law is king. The law doesn't change. It's fairly applied to everyone. No one is above the law, and no one should be denied the protection of the law. Justice is blind, right? So the rule of law, that is what it means to me, that the law is king. So it is not the whims of people, it is the law.
Do you have an opinion on DACA and what should be done about the Dreamers?
Well, one of the things about DACA, it's a very emotional subject for so many people, but DACA was unconstitutional. And again, this is exactly what we're talking about. It was not the rule of law, because the president does not have the authority to make law in the stead of Congress. So where we are now on DACA, regardless of where you stood on what you thought should have happened, if you liked Obama's policy or if you didn't like Obama's policy, you shouldn't like how he did it, right? Because I guarantee you, anyone who was really happy with what Obama did with DACA, if they let that go, right, and if we let the president take over Congress' authority, then I guarantee you there will come a time where you won't like what the president does. And now what do we have? We have the king is law again. The king is law. And that's not the American way.
Thank you, Angela. All right, so please stay for questions.